So thank you very much. We know why we're here. We're here for Access to Job Opportunities workshop, access to government roles. But because I have a lot of ground to cover, I would dive straight in. I've said there's no better time for us to consider a career across various government departments like now. With roles ranging from human resources to policy to project delivery, I can assure you there's no role that you're looking for that you wouldn't get. Finance, security, and this is just to mention a few. Like I said, you are guaranteed to find a flexible working role, an opportunity to learn on the job, get paid, of course, and where pension is a norm. And because of what has happened lately, the pandemic, cost of living, you want to secure a flexible role where there's work-life balance and where, like I said, pension is a norm and the salary is such that is above the the price of living. And as Christians, if we're all Christians on the platform, and if we're not, but as Christians, we have to work in these spheres of influence to impact decisions. This is an opportunity for you to work in government and in roles, particularly where we move policy forward and impact decisions made that affect our faith, community, and future. And this is when you work across government, because you work with Cabinet Office, you work with Home Office, where policies are being drafted, where decisions are made. So why now? Why is it that we're looking for this type of roles? Why now? The good news is that there are job opportunities being advertised daily across government, daily in locations that usually they were not being advertised. Prior to the pandemic, if a role is available in London location, that's the only place they advertise it. But now it's been advertised you're mandated to advertise your role in London, Birmingham. So because people work from home now, so you're able to apply for a role in London. You might be in Birmingham working, but you might be also in other locations. And then there's hybrid working where you can go into any government department to work. And then you're told to maybe come in once a week or once a month to your home location. So it's flexible. The number of roles that you can apply for is limitless. Now, I'm going to talk about this disability confidence scheme quickly. And it's creating a movement of change, encouraging employers to think differently about disability and to take action to improve how they recruit, retain, and develop disabled people. So for this disability confidence scheme, and we call it DCS, it means you only have to meet the minimum qualifying criteria for the job at the application and testing stages. What do I mean by that? It means even though the minimum standard for each behavior is 4, the pass mark can be raised because there are so many people applying for roles. So if in any case, there are a lot of people applying for that role, the panel may decide to lift the scores or to upgrade the scores to 5, for example. But if you apply under this scheme, it means that even though you score a 4 and the pass mark has been increased to 5, you will still qualify and move on to the next stage. Do not be shy to seek additional assistance, as your request will be addressed and reasonable adjustment put in place. Yes, I'm saying this, but at the same time, I'm not saying that you should lie about DCS. So make sure that you have, and it doesn't have to be a disability that is obvious. It could be that during the online assessment, you have to ask for extra time. So please do ask. Now, this is the very important bit. Access routes. There are different and various recruitment routes to accessing job opportunities across government departments or public sector. The first one is the permanent role. And with this, you have to have an account with civil service jobs. I know that people look for jobs in various ways. Go on the internet, maybe find out, but this is a sure way of you getting the roles and the profession that you want to apply for. So you create an account, a civil service account, and it doesn't stop there. It's not just you creating the account. You then go the next step by setting an alert. The alert is such that you choose the role type that you're looking for. You don't need to choose the location because I've already said the location is advertised in 3 different locations. You choose the grade you're applying for, and you choose up to 16 government departments. When you set this alert, what happens is, should a role become available in the department that you've chosen, at the grade you have chosen, and at the role type you have chosen, an email alert will be sent to you. This affords you the opportunity to read the job description, see what they're asking for, the competencies, the role, what is needed in that role, and then you'll be able to see whether the alert you have indeed set is the right grade you want to come in at, or indeed if that's the role you want to do. It's very important that you do this because it stops you from looking for roles everywhere else when the role can actually come to you. The second bit is if you want to be a contractor. If you're contracting and you want to go in from the lower level grade to middle management, you use an agency called Brook Street, and you have the number displayed on there. And this is simply you doing a CV, and I do deliver a CV workshop. It's very important because your CV is your first point of contact for any recruiter to even want to move you forward. It takes 2 to 5 seconds for a recruiter or for me sitting on the panel to look at your CV and see whether I'm proceeding with you. So CV is very important. And you have to remember, not one CV fits all. There are times you need to, there's some changeables in your CVs. So if you want that workshop, that's something you can ask for. You send your CV to the agency, register with them, and when a role becomes available in any cross-government department, they'll send your CV there, and then they will call you for an interview. There's also, before I go on to this next slide, there's also, if you're applying for a more senior role, we use public sector resourcing. And that's if you're applying for SEO, that's senior. I would talk about the grade structure when we go further in the slide. That is when you're applying for SEO, that's the senior executive officer role, to maybe a director level or grade 6 or grade 7. We use public sector resourcing, and it's the same principle. You send your CV, make sure your CV is right. For someone who is applying for senior management roles, your CV, it should be like 5 years, sorry. But for more lower level roles, you shouldn't have more than 2 pages. And like I said, I do deliver that workshop. Now, the next important slide, and thank you very much, Yemi Odi, and I do apologize if I need to put a pastor in front of that, is that we did that poll. That was really, really useful. Thank you. Now, the access routes. The first one is the apprenticeship. And I know that many people would have heard this apprenticeship opportunity, but This is a sure way of anyone who wants to change their career path. And I would give you the criteria for an apprenticeship, because a lot of people have a lot of myths that I want to debunk this morning about apprenticeship. Okay, so the first is there's no upper age limit for you to apply for an apprenticeship. You can be a graduate, you can even have a master's degree or a direct or a doctorate degree and still apply for an apprenticeship. So like I said, no upper age limit. You can be a graduate. It's a sure way of you changing your career path. You have 3 benefits in one, meaning you get paid, you learn on the job. That means you have the skills and experience, and then you get the qualification. There are different entry level points to an apprenticeship. You know, it runs from level 2 to level 7, of which level 2 is equivalent to 5 GCSEs. Level 3 is equivalent to A levels. So depending on the route that you want to go there, apprenticeship is a sure way. And before I leave apprenticeship, I'll give you just a brief testimony there. I have like 2 people came to me. One was a pharmacist and the other one was a solicitor. And they are well established in their role, doing well, getting good money. But somehow they were not happy in that role. They didn't feel fulfilled in that role, and they wanted to change their career path. And when they came to me, the first thing is, what else do you want to do? What are you passionate about? And for both of them, they wanted to do something in cybersecurity. What has happened has opened a floodgate for people to do risks, cybersecurity, and anything relating to that. So I pointed them to a website where they could look for so many apprenticeship opportunities, both in government, private sector. I coached them through each 5 stages of the application interview group process. And I can say to you that both of them are now employed with Virgin as cybersecurity engineers. And these are people coming from other roles. So it is possible using apprenticeship. That is apprenticeship. And I would go back to the next one, which is internships. I cannot stress this enough. Internships is something that we should, if you're a graduate, and I know not a lot of people on the platform said they were graduates, or there's a possibility that there's a mother here, there's a sister, there's an auntie, there's an uncle here who has a daughter who is either a graduate or who's about to finish. Internship is something that they should always look to do if they're in university or they're about to finish, maybe a year towards the end of their university studies. Very, very important, because it helps them to gain experience and to increase their marketability. It has a lot of advantages, so apply for an intern during your university years. And I'll just give you just 4 reasons why you should apply for an intern. And it's the same process. There are opportunities where you can go on to look for, and I'll put the links at the end, where you can look for intern opportunities. Also, your CV is very, very important, and your supporting statement is very important in this aspect. So what are the 4 reasons why you need to apply for internship? It helps you to figure out what you like and don't like. We have a lot of our children who have started with a degree, and somehow they're not sure if this is what they want to do. What they can do then is to seek internship. where they will go into that role, into a workplace, to test their theory and what they do in the organization. It allows them to figure out before they finish if indeed what they're doing is what they want to do when they finish. So it helps you to figure out what you like and you don't like. The other reason is networking. There's nothing in the job market for you to make contact, to have a networking. It's very, very, very important for you to build your network while you have done internships in different organizations. For example, you know the line manager, you know other departments within that organization, and it helps you when you then finish to make contact with all this, your network, to say, I'm about to finish. What roles do you have going? Because you've worked for them, they know you, they know your capability. It's very important for you to do that. It helps with networking. Application of education and career exploration. That is another good reason for you to do an intern or to do an internship, because now you've gone to university, you're now working in an organization that has different departments, and you ask them to rotate you in these departments. It gives you an insight of other skills, other roles, other opportunities that you might not have necessarily thought about. It gives you that opportunity to do so. And like I said, I'm only giving you 4. There's more than 4 reasons. And the last, but by no means the least, is providing soft skills needed in the workplace. You have to remember the fact that we're in university or we're graduates does not necessarily, or even if we're working, that we possess all the necessary soft skills to interact in the marketplace or, work environment. So, like I said, if you're a mom, a dad, if you're an auntie, uncle, and you know someone who is in a university, who is about to finish, please, it's not something they teach in universities, how to address, how to present yourself in interview, soft skills, communicating and influencing, for example, team working. These are all soft skills that you can learn when you're an intern, so that when you then get that job of your dream, you're already ready for the job at hand. Now, the other one is our FAST stream. This is our leadership award opportunity for graduates. And the FAST stream runs every year. And all you need to do, again, yes, is a very, very, I wouldn't say it's difficult, because, nothing is difficult for us. But this is something that I put candidates through as well. And you would find a role or a profession that you want to do in a FAST stream. And I've labeled all the most important one is the generalist role, where you have from commercial to digital to finance, you have project delivery, policy, accounting. There are lots of roles, in the FAST stream. And then we do have the summer diversity role opportunities as well. And this is really meant for, school leavers, graduates who want to take an opportunity of the summer diversity role. And it's only for ethnic minorities. And that's an opportunity for us as well. Now, with every role, or should I say, with almost all our roles, there is an online assessment attached to it. And I know that quite a lot of people that I've trained over the years have said that online assessment is something that they're not sure about. But I'll just talk you through the most commonly used online assessment, depending on the role that you're applying for. An online assessment of some sort will be applied to it. So we have the civil service judgment test, and that measures your ability to demonstrate judgment and decision making. You know, we have the verbal reasoning, and that is the ability to identify relevant information and draw logical conclusions from written information. It would be those, one or two of those will be applied. You have the numerical test. The numerical test usually is applied if you want to come in as an accountant, maybe data analysis. And trust me, you do not have to be a maths graduate to be able to do this test. It's basically based on simple calculations, like to evaluate and interpret numerical information to solve problems. You know, it's things like percentages. They might kind of give you a scenario where you have color-coded car parks, and they tell you that maybe in the red car park, there's 20 cars in 2022. In red car park, there's 40. And they ask a question, how many cars parked in the red car park between 1919 and 1922? So they're simple calculations, but they would not apply a numerical test, for example, to someone applying for project delivery or process or policy or for administrative or for any other one. So it would depend on the role type for them to apply this. Now, like I said, I'm going to debunk the myths. And I know quite a lot of people, maybe on this call or subsequently when they start to apply, would come across this online assessment. The test is not time bound. If you're saying you can't pass, which is something that people have said, I would say prepare beforehand. There's a lot of material out there for you to kind of practice. Don't second guess yourself, because your first response is usually who you are. They ask impossible questions. These questions that they ask actually test your ability to act in certain situations. So reflect on your experience. I am not mathematical, and I said here, you don't have to be a maths graduate, and not all numerical online will be applied to every of your role. So, and there's a practice test. Make sure you do that to familiarize yourself with the test. It's very, very important. Now, we're going to go on to the application stage. And I'm going to slow down here because this is where you need to make sure that the technique that I teach here can be used in any application process, whether you're applying for a private organization, whether you're applying to a public sector. It's something that you can use throughout any application stage. Like I told you earlier, I mean, the candidate that came to me, they used it to gain employment in Virgin Media, which is a private organization, as a cybersecurity engineer. So the application stage, it's very, very important for you to read the job profile or the job description, as we used to call it, thoroughly. Many people do not read the job advert, and they just go in and see what are they asking me to do, and they fire on. What is important? There's a reason why the job description is there. There is no hidden agenda. It tells you, it's clear what it wants you to do. If it's asking you for CV and personal statement, then that is what you should provide. Because if you don't, then you will not be shortlisted. Your application would not move on. So it's important for you to do that. But there are times it would then ask you to do, it's called the success profile behavior. And this is what is now commonly used across the board. It's called civil service behavior. It's called success profile. And the reason why I say read the job description is all this information is right there in the job profile. There's a link to each of this information. It's so important for you to click that success profile behavior and save it. Save it in your document, because this is something that you would use for any application should they ask for you to answer the success profile behavior. You'll be asked to provide evidence to address any element of the civil service behavior. And if you don't comply with the requirement of a fifth stage, you'll not proceed to the next round. There are 5 elements in the success profile behavior: the experience, the strength, the ability, the technical, but I'll focus more on the behavior. And if you see this screen, it shows you the elements to be tested. And like I said, in your job description, this is something that you need to file and save away, because it describes each of the stages, all the success profile behaviors that they may ask you to provide evidence against. Either they're asking you to do communicating and influencing, or they're asking you to provide evidence against making effective behavior, or seeing the big picture, or changing and improving, for example. Those are all in the civil service, the success profile, which you need to save in your document, which will be very useful for you. I did mention something about grade structure, but before I go to the grade structure, there's in addressing your CV and personal statement and addressing your success profile behavior, the tip to use in all your application is what you call the STAR method. So, for example, if you've been told to address communicating and influencing, for example, under that communicating and influencing, they have something called the key indicators. So if you go into the success profile behavior and you go to the grade you have applied for, you'll see all the success profile behaviors listed there. It's important for you to go to the grade that you've applied for so that you're not answering the wrong question. And they have told you that in the 6th stage, we're asking you to deal with communicating and influencing. Under that communicating and influencing, you would see what you call the key indicators. It outlines what you need to write. It outlines how you need to address that success profile behavior, communicating and influencing. And the way you address it is, 1, you think about a good example of what you've done in your previous role, current role, even if you haven't had a job for a while. And these are for people integrating back into the work community. Maybe they've been off on leave, having children, or they've taken time off and they're integrating back into the workplace. Or indeed, if it's someone who's been working in the church as an usher, I'm sure you speak to people, you communicate and influence, you communicate with people, you influence people, and whether you are studying. So think about a very good example. When you have that, your example, then put what you call STAR, which is S for situation, T for task, A for action, R for results. Very important that you structure your answer. As a panel member, I don't want to read through an application where there's a lot of waffle, even though they know what they're saying, because they have transferable skills. They have done something before. They're using that example, bringing it to bear in this case, right? But we don't want someone who would waffle, talk about the experience. And if you structure it, then me looking at your form, I will know that, well, okay, this person is giving me the situation. They've told me what the task is. They've gone to what they did, because what you did is very important. And I'll put a percentage to this. Your situation should be 5%. I just want to know what happened. Why did you have to do what you did? Your star, which is your task, is 5%. What did you have to do? What information did you have to collate? Who did you have to speak to? Then your action is 80% of your word count. I want to know what you did. How did you do it? How did you run this by your team? What was your feedback? How did you deal with difficult team member or difficult customers? If indeed you're working with external stakeholders, how did you deal with them? I want to know what you did, your contribution. And it's so important after you've done all this to tell me what the result is. Result is very important. As a result of everything you've done, what was the outcome? What did you learn from that project? If it wasn't successful, say so and tell us the lessons learned. If it's something that they've used in future, tell us what the director said. Is this something they're now using in the organization? Were you given a local recognition award? Sell yourself, sell yourself. But if you put it in that structure, then there's no way a panel would shortchange you, because you're clear in your structure. Okay, now, grade structure. I'm checking my time because I want people to ask a lot of questions. I want people to go away from this session knowing exactly what to do next. Grade structure. Now you start with the administrative officer, then you move on to the executive officer. Next is the higher executive officer, the senior executive officer. You have the grade 7, you have the grade 6, and then you have the director level. And by no means do you have to follow this order. I remember that when you set your alert and you set your grade, when the roles start to come in, you're able to amend your alert. If the jobs you're getting, you're thinking, I'm not so sure I have enough transferable skills to do this grade 7 role, because based on the role that I'm seeing and what is expected of me, I might not be able to start at this grade. All you need to do is to change your alert and change the grade. Okay? You don't have to stay in a role. For example, I remember when I joined the Crown Prosecution Service, and to be honest with you, I joined as an EO. I started EO. And within 3 months, I said I wanted to ask for promotion. And I remember someone telling me, oh, you've only been here for 3 months. There's no way you can ask for promotion. And I said, watch me. So no one should tell you when to apply for promotion, when not to apply for promotion. You know what you want to gain from it. You go for it. And more so, right, you needing to gather all the skills, all the experience you need to move on to that next stage. So that's it, is the grade structure. Now, I'm going to go on to the service offering. I say all this to say that this is almost like an introductory pack. I mean, when you want to go into details, and at Sosito, I did say that I would hold your hand through each stage of the recruitment process. There's no stage where you would go on your own, and you need to ask for support. I don't think we do that enough. We go on, yes, you have the experience, yes, you have the transferable skills to make these applications, but then you have someone who is experienced and who has gotten people into more roles to help you to hold your hand through group sessions, through one-to-one, tailored to meet your need, and who would do an interview prep with you. If you have an interview, and it doesn't necessarily have to be an interview across government, it could be an interview with a private organization who would walk you through the mock interview, give you a feedback, get you ready. You need to invest in your future. It's very, very important. So the service offering, I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to support you through each stage of the application process, coach you on passing the online assessment, do a mock interview and feedback, review the application forms, because people make application forms and they want someone to review it to be sure that they've put in a good structure. The good one is important in it, particularly maybe graduates for internship. Writing your CV, rewriting your CV, like I said to you, is so important. I've sat in workshops where people have presented the CV they wrote in 1922, and they're still, if a job becomes available, they're sending that same CV. It's a no-no. Your CV does not fit all. Your CV should be tailored to the job that you're applying for. And I'm not saying you should change everything. There are some changeables in your CVs that you need to do. So if you require a CV workshop, and to use LinkedIn properly. LinkedIn is a place where you have to use your CV. People have been shortlisted from LinkedIn. They've been headhunted. People going to LinkedIn, what you need to do with your CV is to create a good profile. So once I've walked you through your CV, then you put it on LinkedIn and you start to follow organizations that you wish to work for. Comment on their posts, follow them. If there's one thing people don't do, they don't even call the organization to say, I know you're not looking for, there's no role here, but I just want to say that this is what I'm looking for. Should a space become available, I'm here. You know, contact those organizations, be bold, be courageous, you know, do not be afraid, you know, knock on doors, because he said you should knock and the door shall be opened up to you, isn't it? So knock. If you want to change your career and you know you're not happy in the career, or you've worked in external organization, you now want to just settle down, you want a flexible role, work-life balance, you want to put a stop pedal a little bit and do other things, you know, this is the opportunity for you to do that. Don't be afraid. Change is a constant. Don't be afraid. Okay, so I said here that if you're going to book the application workshop, where I'm going to walk you through each stage of the application process, and if you're in a role already, you want promotion, you want career progression, if you want a CV workshop, if you want all this, and there's this other section that I do that I'm very, very passionate about, is the information about autism exchange program. I was privileged to mentor a young adult with autism. And I fell in love with that project. And there is a summer exchange program for autism, for people with autism. And when I did the stats, I found out that for that summer, just a handful of ethnic minority groups were represented. So I said to myself, is it that people don't know that this opportunity is there? So if you're a parent or your sister, or you know someone who has autism on a spectrum, you know, there's a summer autism exchange program that, you know, we can help coach them into doing. We need to be speaking to organizations that they need to be able to give, you know, a couple of hours, you know, for people with autism to step into organization. And you will be amazed at what they can do. So if you're on this platform this morning and you want to take advantage of any of the sessions that I'm doing, I would offer a promotional code, and it will be CDO1. And I repeat, CDO1, where you book the application process, and then I'll give you 50% off on your CV workshop. My website is there, www.sosito.org. And once you book the application workshop, like I said, I'll give you a 50% discount on your CV, the CV workshop. The email to send, once you have booked that application workshop and you have quoted a CDO1 in your email, send that email to admin@sosito.org. And I repeat, admin@sosito.org. You put the CDO1 and you tell me that you've booked that application workshop. That's the promotional code again. So it says book a group or one-to-one application process session and get the CV workshop for 50% discount. Don't forget to quote CDO1. And the code would expire at the end of June. Now, this is an upcoming event on the 5th of June, 2022, and it's employment and immigration. There's quite a lot of people who have immigration questions to ask, be it they've come on spousal visa, be it they have a visa, a tier 4 visa, they want to change, they want to know organizations that support the certificate of sponsorship. You know, there's a lot of questions that people want to ask. And it was because I attended a session and I saw that a lot of people wanted to ask these questions. So I've teamed up with this professional. He's a solicitor. He would answer all your questions, and is also willing to give, after you've attended this session on the 5th of June, is willing to give one other consultation free for you to ask any immigration problems or issues or entry requirements that you have. And that again is on the 5th of June at 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And to book for that event, that's the link. And I'll send all that to Pastor Daddy. Done. Do you have any questions?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I'm going to, I've got one question here, and I believe you've answered it. One of the questions whereby you were discussing about the success profile behavior, it was asked, is it the same as the competencies questions?
Okay, that's a brilliant question. Yes, in the past, they called it competencies. Now they call it success profile behavior. Although it's the same, but the manner in which you address it is slightly different, because under each of the behavior, they've specified what you need to address. But when we were doing competencies, you know, everybody would just go and write, you know, what I did, how I did it. But now it's just a change of name, really. It's still the competencies, but it's called success profile behavior, but with more structure. They want to test your behavior alone, not your behavior alone, but other things that you've done to bring to bear. I hope I've answered that person's question.
Thank you. So if anybody wants to ask our presenter any question, could you unmute yourself and ask the question, or you could send us a chat? Can I ask one question? If you're going for one of the higher roles from HEO, how many pages do you think the CV should be of, ideally?
Ideally, 2 pages or at most 2.5. I would say that because once I've sifted applications, numerous applications, to be honest with you, it takes me 5 to 20 seconds. If I see you're applying for an HEO and you have like 3 pages, I would bin it. So 5 to 20 seconds. HEO,
What about
2 pages.
What about for level, for grade 6 or 7?
I would say 3.5, because with that, they want your experience, all the experience that you're transferring into the role you're applying for. So that needs to be in depth. And then for more senior level, you can have up to 5 pages because they want to see exactly what you've done and translate that forward. And that's why doing a CV that really is attractive, particularly because so many other people are making these applications. It's so important for you to structure your CV in a way that is attractive. Don't put what's not necessary. For example, if they're asking for qualification, why would you want to put your qualification at the back? If what they're asking for is qualification. If they're asking for experience, why put your qualification in front? There are little things like that, but your CV, one CV does not fit all. There's some CVs that you would do that all you need to change is your skills and experience, because the skills and experience they're asking for in the job application, they said we need somebody who is this, this, and that. But in your CV, you don't have that. All you have to do is take something out and put those things that they're asking in your CV, in your skills.
It's not less. I have a can when you use it to pump it.
We're not pumping cars here today.
Thank you. Okay, one of the questions I wanted to ask is because, for example, if you, I do a bit of recruitment myself, and I find that if you're applying for senior level position, why do people bother putting, if you're, for example, let's take a person that is a qualified solicitor or a qualified engineer, why are you putting your GCSE into a managerial position on your CV? So those sorts of things do help, like our sister have said. I've got a question from Sister Valdine. Sister Valdine, could you unmute yourself and ask the question, please?
Hi, good morning. Thank you very much. This was very informative today and very timely as well. So I'm quite happy. One of my questions is, you mentioned about the STAR acronym, which is a good one to use, but you also said not to waffle on a particular question. So when you're actually doing your application, how long do you think your application should be? Because, you know, I guess that would vary on the amount of questions that's asked, but if you're trying to put examples to everything, what would the employer be looking at with regard to a good application in length, I suppose, or probably words?
Okay, thank you. That's a good question. But in all the applications that you make, there is a word limit. So when you access the application, when you start filling your application, there's a word limit of 250 words. That's if you're doing the success profile behavior. Each of the behavior is 250 words. And that's why I've broken it down as 5% situation, 5% task, 80% of your word count should be the action, and your result should be the last one. So 250 for each of the words. But if you're doing a CV and personal statement, because they can ask either or, the personal statement, they would always tell you how many words they need. Depending on the grade, they might ask you for 750 personal statement. They might ask you for 500 words. So it's so important, yet again, for you to go back to the job description and read what is required. There's no hidden agenda. They tell you exactly what they need. So 250 for success profile for each of the behaviors, and the STAR method would allow you to structure that correctly. And the thing you need to do is write it first in Word, because when you pour all your examples down in situation, task, action, result, you would have more than 250 words. Is you then looking back, taking what's not necessary, making sure that you're on point and you don't waffle. That would allow you to strip down some things, cut down your word count, and once you've done it in Word, you can then copy and paste it in the column provided or in the box provided for you. I hope I have answered that, Balbina.
You have. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I've got another question from NDY. NDY said, for fast trackers stream, do they have to have a 2-1?
Yes, the answer to that is yes. For civil, for across government, fast track is 2-1 and above.
Two one in their. What about if they didn't come? If they're not from the graduate route, maybe the professional route?
For the graduate scheme.
For the fast track.
Is it fast stream?
Yeah, fast stream. Yes.
Okay, so the fast track is generally for graduates.
Yeah, the reason why I'm asking the same question is that if you were a qualified, say for example, you're a qualified accountant and you don't have a degree, but you have the professional exam, can you apply through this route because you're a graduate as well, or it doesn't count?
No, I don't. You wouldn't want to apply through that route. You would want to apply. Yeah, you would want to apply through the open application for which is permanent scheme, or if you want to go into the apprenticeship because you want to do something else. Yeah.
Okay. And then,
but should I please note that there's some fast streams, and that's why yet again we say read the application. Some organization will ask for a 2-2 and above, right? And for the fast stream, when you start the program and for any reason towards the final assessment, you don't pass the final assessment, then what would happen is that all the steps you've gone through will not be wasted. They will still give you a lower level role. Rather than you coming in as a senior executive officer, depending on the fast stream that you go through, they'll give you the HU. And those ones are the one we call the DAS. They're the direct access entry, where you haven't passed the final stage, but they're giving you, for your trouble, because those stages are very rigorous, so you don't waste your time.
Okay. Thank you. I've got another question here. Thank you, Tokunbo. I've got another question. How do you encourage our young adults to go into civil service and to go via fast stream?
Okay, the only encouragement that I would give them is, I know that quite a lot of our graduates, they want to go external. They want to go to named organization. But what I would ask our young ones do is that this is an opportunity for you to be in a government department where you would start to rise within the rank and start to jointly make decisions that affect your community. Fast stream, or fast track, although is a very competitive entry level, but you have someone who can walk you through each stage of that process. Like me, I have 2 young ones as well. Well, they're not young anymore, and I would walk you through each stage of that recruitment. It's because majority of them do not ask for help, and immediately when you see that something is very difficult, there's so many stages. There's the application stage. You do the online assessment first, then you go to a group exercise, then you do individual exercise. But you have to know that it's a labor of love. And once you pass those stages, you don't start from EO, depending on your fasting. You start as an SEO. And the money is there. And then it's not only the money, is not only the benefits that you're going to get, is the fact that think beyond that. Think beyond the fact that the money, the grade, or think about you then making joint decisions, moving policies forward that would affect your community, your faith, and your future.
Thank you so much. Thank you. What you said is really, really key, because you find out a lot of people, young people, works for the Deloitte, the Deutsche Bank, but what impact are we making in the community? Now you have various agendas that people in the government department are the ones that make those decisions that affect every one of us, not the banks, but it's the government. So thank you. I've got another question from someone here said, how do you encourage a young man who is trying to get into HR sector, but has 1 year of experience, but have been getting rejected by entry-level jobs?
Okay, that's a good question. Because I don't know the background, you've just asked this question. This person who wants to get into an HR role and has been rejected, what grade are they applying for? Are they applying through the apprenticeship route? Are they applying through the open vacancy, which is the permanent role open vacancy? And what grade? Because sometimes we're tempted, because we have an HR degree or we've gone to university, somehow we're equating that to, oh, I can't do an EO. I'm going to apply for an HEO or an SEO. And I'm not saying you can't do that. You know, through Christ, you can do anything. But guess what? Start where you would at least put your foot in the organization, and then you start asking for promotion. So I don't know this person's story, but I think this is a very good candidate for that person to get in touch with me. You know,
I would suggest that myself. Yeah.
Yeah. So if they're having this difficulty, they want to get into HR, then is something that they need to get in touch with me. So can this person please be put down the email address, admin@sosito.org, send me a message, and let's have that consultation, and then you can book the session, and then we can go from there.
Okay. I know, what's it called? I just wanted to find out, does anyone has any questions? Question. Just unmute yourself. Let's allow Tokumba to rest a minute. Do you want some water, or you're okay?
I'm good. I mean,
okay.
this is the part that I relish on, because I want people to ask questions. I don't want people to go away not sure if they should ask. There's no question like a stupid question. Just ask, because I want you to go away from here, book your application session, and then you come back and give testimony that, oh, I've been looking for roles, now I got it. And that is what makes me happy. Okay,
we've got Pastor Yemi raising up his hand. Yemi, you can speak, sir.
Yes, thanks so much for that session. It was really insightful. My question really is around the actual interview process. And I know that quite a lot of people get in front of the prospective employer, and then something happens and they don't get selected. So have you got any tips for the actual interview sessions? And I know that interviews now can be hybrid. It can be online, and also it could be in person. But if you can look at the two areas and give us some tips on how to successfully scale these interviews, it would be really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Yemi. Yes, interviews, I mean, even though we've done the application process, we've sifted through of course, the last hurdle is the interview. There's nothing. The first thing I would say is prepare, prepare, and yet again, prepare. There's no one that goes to battle that doesn't prepare. If you don't prepare, you're prepared to fail. So what I would say regarding interviews is that it's so important for you to read again. Can you imagine? I'm going to this job description, job profile over and over again. That in the job profile, it would tell you the areas they're going to interview you on. Particularly with government, it would say to you for the interview, we're going to interview you on communicating and influencing, making effective decisions, changing and improving. So if they've said all those three things to you, the next thing for you to do is to go and prepare, even though you have sent your statement regarding all those three. I would encourage you to then try and do another example. And these are your preparation. You've already sent them all those three things, so they have that with them, but plan to create another example should, in case they ask you, and there's not going to be any trick questions. If they say they're asking you on that three, those are the three they're going to ask you. Then do a mock interview. Get me to do a mock interview with you. And what I would do when I'm doing a mock interview with people is, one, I would ask for the job description. Two, I would ask for the information you've sent in. And three, because I've done this so many times, what I would do is I would generate possible questions that they may ask you. And it would always be in that structure. There's no way they will ask you anything outside. So you just need to listen to the question. When it says, describe a time, you know what they're asking you. There's no trick question. So it's important for you, one, to go back to your job description. What are the areas that they said to you they're going to interview on? Two, prepare alternative answers in the sense that if they say, can you tell us about a time? You don't necessarily have to say what you have said in the question, but is the structure. When they've asked you, describe a time or give an example of, please use the STAR approach again. This is an example of where I've done this. This is what I did. As a result of this, use the STAR approach. Whether you're writing your personal statement, you're writing a success profile, use it also in your interview. It allows the panel to be structured in the things that you've said. And if there's a follow-up question based on what you've said, they would ask you. Because the minute they don't ask you a follow-up question, then know that you've addressed all the key points that they've asked. If you structure it in a STAR format. And then don't forget that it's very important when you're doing an online interview to make sure that you log on at least 15 minutes before the interview. You know that Zoom or Teams can play up. Your internet can play up. Make sure that you're prepared. You set yourself ready. No distractions. And guess what? If you have two panels on the screen, make sure your head is not touching the roof like this. And they're only seeing your nose and your mouth. Make sure that you're seen by the panel. And of course, make sure you don't have a picture behind your back like I've done. Make sure that it's blank. And keep the children, tell them they're having an interview. Although they're very flexible, they know that we're working from home. There's a possibility a child will run through. Be natural. Just be natural. And if they ask a question, if one panel is asking a question, don't be looking at the second panel. If you have two panels, if one is asking a question, focus on that person who is asking that question, right? You answer the question. And if you don't understand, you want them to repeat, don't be afraid to say so. I didn't quite understand that question. Could you repeat it? Don't be afraid to ask for them to repeat it. Focus. You don't have to wear your danchiki. Just be simple. You know, a white t-shirt, no, not t-shirt, a white shirt, right? A pajamas bottom, they won't see it. All you need to do is that please don't stand up. Once you finish the interview and they haven't logged off, please don't just get up, because then they can see your pajamas bottom, or they can see that you're wearing shorts. Don't do that. You know, just finish, make sure they're saying, thank you for coming, say thank you to them. For government departments, when they say, do you have any questions? You don't necessarily have to have any question. You can just say, when are they going to come back to you? Or if you want to be proactive, you can ask, when would I hear back from you? You know, you can ask, if you don't know, don't ask a question that is obvious, right? Don't ask, so what's the salary? The salary is already in the job profile. Don't ask that. It's there. But you don't necessarily have to ask questions. So, but in all this, I say, prepare, and then prepare again.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Before I move on to another question, I want to ask a follow-up question based on what you've just said. Any tips for our young people on how to present themselves at interview? Dress code, appearance. I have a feeling that people feel it does not matter these days, but it does.
Definitely, you said it. It does. You know, there's I don't know whether it's something I can say on the platform. It's a Yoruba proverb. Irinisin is on Ilojo, right? Is your appearance is can Pastor Yemi interpret that, please?
That's
no,
the worst.
no. That's
That's too much.
Yeah, definitely.
It's so important, your appearance, particularly young ones. You know, you want to go for an interview. I mean, my son, he wants to go for an interview. He wants to wear jogging bottoms. It's how he wants to wear this. No, you can't do that. This is, people even say, oh, it doesn't matter. People have moved on. They know that you're young. No, it's a professional setting. Just a simple white shirt and a black trousers, black, blue, whatever, and your shoes is just good enough, right? Just be simple. It doesn't necessarily have to be over the top, but it's very, very important. It's important for you to go into the room and say, good morning. It's important for you to come into the interview room and still stand and ask, can I be seated? Or they'll say you should sit down, right? Don't just go in, sit and slouch like these young people do. You know, they'll slouch on the chair as if they don't care. So if you don't care, why would the panel care? So it's important for you to dress smartly, get there before time. You know, you can't control the rail. Even though I work for the Department for Transport, you can't trust the rail. There are delays. So plan ahead of time. Get there early. Sit in the lobby. Or if it's online, just get in early, sit in the lobby until they usher you in. If you're going in, please dress well. You know, white shirt, like I said, for the boys, for the ladies, you can do a white and a skirt, or don't make your skirt too short. You know, just, I mean,
modest.
Modest. We know, we all know what is right and what is wrong. We do, you know. So for these young ones, it's so important that if they have someone at home, when they're going for this interview, to say to them, you can't dress like this. Could you change? Don't be afraid to correct them, you know, because you really don't want this job. If you really want this job, then make the effort. Your appearance matters. It does.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I always say to people, image is very important in every spheres of life. But people will say things have changed. But image, your first impression, it's very important. We're human beings. We're human beings. Okay. Next question is, I've got a question here. It said, for a mom that's out of work for over a decade, what will be the best option back to work due to economic and high unemployment, and the competition is quite high?
Yes, and rightly so. Competition is fierce. But I always say, regardless of what the competition is, you just got to say to yourself that you're preferred above others, right? So for this mother, or for any mother who wants to go back to work, you have to remember, before you left work, you have worked. So you have some transferable skills to bring into as an example for the role that you're applying for. But guess what? Start from the entry level. It might look as if, oh my God, before I left, I'm qualified, I've done this, I've done that. But because you've left the market scene for a while, and the examples you might give might not be strong enough, it's better for you to come in at the entry level. Use the apprenticeship route. Sometimes for apprenticeship, the first thing is that they tell you to send a CV, right? Because some of the ones that have gotten in, they didn't even ask them they did the online assessment and they asked for just CV. When you then get to that next round, that's when I start to prep you, right? And guess what? They're not asking any trick questions. It's you being prepared to answer the question. It's not the fact that you've left work for a long time. It's the fact that you can answer the questions and they know that you are ready to integrate back into the workplace. So yes, for that mother, for that auntie, for anyone, to be honest with you, who wants to integrate back. And I have good examples of someone who wasn't working for 10 years, who now came and now is working in the Home Office. And not only did they go in as an EO, they've gotten a promotion as an HEO. So you know your worth. You know that when you get in, you do all you can to master the skills. And then, so you know why you're going in there and you know you're ready. And you want this flexible working where, you can work from home one day, go in the next day, the pension is secured, you learn on the job, it's flexible. So yes, it's possible. Nothing is impossible, actually.
Thank you. I've got an answer. Aramide, you can ask your question. Aramide, you can ask your question. Okay, maybe she's.
Yeah, she's dropped her hand, so maybe
the question has been answered. Okay, the next question I've got here is somebody asked that recently government has just put a hold on civil service. Is this now the right time to think of going into civil service? What is the rate of success for over 55 going into civil service, please? So there's about 3 questions there.
Yes, and I knew this question was going to come up anyway. Yes, I mean, it's not the first time since I've been in government that I've heard that there's going to be a reduction in workforce and, all that. But I can assure you, we're still recruiting. We are still recruiting. And for sure, there will be, all this would amount to the natural shrinkage. There are people moving out of civil service. There are people getting promotion. There are people going away on the sabbatical leave, maternity leave. So there is still recruitment going on. Don't let that news give you fear or make you think this is not, they've said it before. And I'm sure if this person has been around for a long time, they know that they've said this before and we're still here. Okay, And then the second one, success rate for over 50.
Five, yeah.
Yeah, you only just need to come into the workplace and see them. And well, I'm proud of my age. I'm one of them. I'm still there. I'm over 50, right? And the people who have trained, I've given a workshop to, and they've come into civil service at 50. So please don't let your age, the news, anything deter you. You need to put your focus where is necessary. And guess what? Invest in your future. People would sit down and not do what they need to do to get into employment. But you need to do all you need to do to get into employment. If you know you're not sure, then invest in your future. But I can assure you, we've heard this before, and don't let it deter you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. As you said, there is people moving on, new department being created for new ideas, new services. So there's always opportunities out there. Thank you so much. Does anybody have a question before we end this session or before we do any roundups?
Christine has a hand up.
Oh, okay. My screen sometimes. So if Christine can unmute herself, please. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Good morning or the afternoon now, Tokunbo. I just wanted to find out if there's any pathway for apprenticeship for nurses. For nurses, that's because you talked about a pharmacist that decided that they want to move to something else. Is there any pathway for nurses that wants to go into apprenticeship for something different?
I do apologize. I only mentioned pharmacists and any profession that you've been in before.
Okay.
Yes, any profession. You just then need to choose where you want to go to. These two people just decided they wanted cybersecurity, and we pointed them to the role. But there are loads of apprenticeship programs. It's unbelievable in public, in private, in all the sectors. It's unbelievable. So I do apologize. I mentioned those two, but it's in any profession, any change of career. Apprenticeship is the best way to go.
All right. And if I could indulge in just this moment, just to say thank you for the hard work. Very informative. And it's nice to see your face after 30 years. This is Christy Datson, next door to Lara Otunton.
Oh, wow. It's a small world, isn't it?
It's a small world.
It
we
is.
grew up together, yeah. So it's nice to
thank you so much.
Of the good work. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I do appreciate that.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. So any more questions? Okay. So can I ask a question? For example, if you have someone, I'm going to use a candidate. If you have someone that have spent all their 30s, 40s, 50 working in the house of God, and they've decided now that they want a career change, they want to maybe work in the civil service whereby they can make a change because they've been involved with the church, but they want to make a change in the society. What skills, because there's so many skills that people pick up on a voluntary basis that they don't capture. I've seen young ladies when they were applying for jobs, reviewing their CV, and I said, oh, but you do this in church, and they said, oh, I didn't know I could put that in. So I think also our extracurriculum activities, people don't capture it, and it is very essential. How will you address this particular person that wants to go into the labor market full time, but all their experiences have been working in the house of God?
Thank you. So, two things. Even though we've been working in the house of God and we have skills that we can use, is how we interpret those skills. Did you see that there's a difference in you saying, oh, I was working in the house of God, I was ushering, I was communicating? Is how you interpret. Yeah, how you present. If they're saying that they need somebody who has communicating and influencing skill, you say yes. And then when you're giving your example, a previous role in the faith group of communication and influencing, I did this, I did that. So it's how you interpret those transferable skills in the language that is of present, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's how you interpret it. And yes, it's very important because that's the only experience you have. And they are transferable skills. They're skills that you can use when they're asking for key things. You can give an example of how you have demonstrated that. And that's all they need to know. They don't know whether it was maybe in the house of God. It's how you demonstrate that you have done something that mirrors what they're asking in that role. And that's, you say, a previous example was when I was working in Christ Church, for example, as an usher. You know, I was able to do this. This is what I did. This was how I did it. It's you transferring those skills and using a statement or words that is applicable to the application. So yes, it's something you can do. When you're doing your CV as well, is you using, I'll tell you a trick. And it's not a trick. It's when you're doing your CV, look at the job description. What are the words that they're using? Those are the words you pick out, right? And put in your CV. And it's the way you adjust it, right? So you use active words, verbs, instead of doing words. These are the things that I teach in my CV workshop, you know, to help people to craft a good CV. I mean, if a CV workshop is something that you need in the future, let me know. But yes, this person who's been working here, and then all they need to do is start at the entry level, where the competition won, or where they're not asking for too many previous experience. You know, if you come in as an apprenticeship, and I told you, remember I told you there are levels. If you come in at level 3, which is equivalent to GCSE, they know that people from GCSE, they haven't got any experience. They know that they haven't probably not worked before. So if you come in through that route, keep your leg in, and then you can spread your wings.
Thank you. Thank you. In line of what you've just answered, there's another question here. It says, thank you for advising the apprentice route. I will look into that, even though it sounds weird. I have attended few interviews. The feedback I got was I gave good examples, but not a depth answer. Please, what does that mean?
Good, very good question. And I'll tell you something. I'll tell my delegates. If you apply, number one, I need to check whether it's across government or private sector. Or if it's across government and you've applied before and they've given you a feedback back, where I work with you from is from your feedback. Because when you go into the feedback page, I would see the score that you were given, if you were given one at all. If you were given a 3, for example, or you were given a 2, for example, then I know where you are at. And then we can work to improve that. It's very simple. If they're saying you gave good example, but it's not in depth, I can assure you that you didn't use the STAR format. Because if you use the STAR format, where the A is action, you will sell yourself, you sell what you've done, how you did it, and then as a result, what the output was. See, I got a combination of 2 and 4. So the 2, and I'll explain that so that you get it. Now, if the behavior that they've asked is maybe 3 or 4 behaviors, you have to score a 4, 4, 4, 4 in everything to move on to the next round. But because you have scored a 2 in 1, you don't go through. So they've given you a summary that you've given examples, but you haven't given an in-depth example, because you need to score 4 in all the competencies or all the behavior that they've asked. But because you've scored a 2 in 1, you haven't been shortlisted. So the one you scored a 4, all we will do there is just to improve on it a little bit, so that when, for any reason, they up the scores because they have a lot of applications and they want to drop some people, you're still in. And then the 2 we need to work a lot on, right? And if you can quickly pop in there, what are the 2 behaviors that you scored a 2? And don't forget, if they ask for CV and personal statement, or CV and behavior, your CV2 is marked, even though they would say to you, your CV has not been assessed. It has been marked. Your CV2, you need to score a 4 in it. So don't just send any CV and then do very well in the behavior or do very well in the personal statement. You might not go through. I hope I've answered this person's question, because for you to score a 4, great. You know, we just need to tweak it a little bit to get you to a 5. But where you've scored a 2, there's a lot of work to be done there.
Okay. So most civil service job these days, is it CV or application or combination?
It is. So that's why, yet again, the job description is very important for you to read. It is either they're asking for CV and personal statement, or they're asking for CV and success profile behavior. And they will mention what behavior they're asking for, right? So it's either or. And when you're writing your personal statement, there's a way you need to address the personal statement. You don't use a star to answer personal statement. For personal statement is the how and when. But with the success profile, a star is the STAR.
Okay, thank you. We're coming to the end of our workshop, and I don't know if anyone has any more question. If we don't have any further question, I'm just going to call on Pastor Yemi. He was going to do a roundup for us, so I'm going to hand over. Sister Tokunbo, we are so grateful to have you on this platform. Even I myself, I have picked up quite a few tips. So thank you so much. It's been very well seasoned. We were supposed to have this last year, if you remember, but thank God, God made the way for us this time around to invite you. So we really do appreciate. We do appreciate that. We hope you will be back soon. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you. I mean, I'll call you my able coordinator, Pastor Daddy. You've been so gracious, to me, and very accommodating. And thank you for having me on your platform. So I do really appreciate it. And I'll just quickly plug myself again and say, guys, if you're still looking to, fine-tuning this opportunity, and you still want to get into civil service and use the technique that I've just shared today in all other roles that you're doing, then I cannot say but to say, you need to invest in your future. Don't forget to use the promotional code. I'm giving this because of Pastor Daddy. Use the code to get your discount. Get in touch, admin@sosito.org. Don't forget the 5th of June, where we would do the employment and immigration workshop. If you have any immigration query, don't be shy, come answer it. And thank you very much for being with us, and thank you for coming. Thank you very much.
We've got one question. I've got one question. He said, one of the things I've seen and noticed is that we sell ourselves short and don't have confidence in our skills or feel our. He said, all tribute is not good enough. How can we improve this? Ask your question, yeah.
Yeah, or feel our contribution is not good enough.
Okay. So how can we improve on this?
Well, there's a simple way. I've said, if that's what you feel, then you need to use an expert to help you, to either get you through the application process and encourage you, teach you the technique so that when you're speaking, you're more confident. And also, you have to believe in yourself, believe in what you have, believe in the skills you have. And if you are falling short, then seek the support that you need to get you to where you want to get to. I think, that's it. And yes, you're right. Sometimes we're thinking, I don't speak well. How am I going to say this? Or I'm not so sure this is what they want. You're just going to have to be courageous. You're going to seek the support you need. And you're going to say to yourself, you're worth much more. Is that okay, Lola?
Thank you. I just wanted for you to speak on that point. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. I just want to check that I've picked up everyone's question.